I'm with J Tobin, President Magna Asia, and he's here with me to talk about Magna's plans globally as well as for Asia and particularly in India as well, and also what are the major trends that we are going to see in the automotive industry. So, Jim, thank you for talking to Autocar Professional.
Thank you for your time.
First of all, the key focus areas of Magna in the immediate future, because you have just completed an acquisition of GetTrack, for example.
Yes.
And also you have divested some of your businesses. So now, with the what are the new focus areas that you have in your mind?
Well, you saw today the four pillars that we focus on with all our customers globally, whether it be smarter, whether it be cleaner, whether it be lighter. We're focused on that with our customers on materials, process, and then looking at their needs from a manufacturing perspective. So when I look at our focus in product, we're looking at the electronic side, we're looking at improvements on ICE technology, whether it's lightweighting the car or improving the overall system, the driveline system. Talking a little bit about our geographical footprint. 15 years ago, we were predominantly a North American and European supplier. We've expanded significantly. We're producing in over 29 different countries right now. And specific to Asia, our strategy has been expansion in China and India. India, we've been investing quite heavily for the last 10 years. Unfortunately, the production volumes haven't hit the expectations of our customer. And we see a couple things happening in India. India, as you know, the GDP is getting to a level where affordability of vehicles are there, but it's mainly A and B segment vehicles.
Which is not Magna's focus areas yet.
No, it is. It is. We produce quite a bit on A and B segment vehicles.
Yeah.
But you look at predominantly, especially here in North America as well as China, it's C, D, and E. If you look at what we see in India, and this has only changed in the last 3 or 4 years, is some of the car companies are using it as an export market. I think Ford Motor Company's new plant up near Ahmedabad, Sandan, is a good example, where a good percentage of those vehicles will be exported back to Europe. And we see the overall customer base looking at the consumers in India to make sure affordability of the vehicle is there. And what I mean by that is many of the customers have global platforms. So that the same vehicle they designed for South America, China, and India was all the same. I think once they get to some markets, affordability became a problem, and they couldn't get it to the same price point, or the right price point. So I think they're looking in some markets, what do they have to do specific to the market to ensure the affordability is there?
And also you said that you are being cautious about investing in India further.
Yeah.
What are the reasons, and what do you think should the steps that should be taken to address these concerns?
Well, when you look at India and China, over 15 years ago, they said they were going to accelerate and grow at about the same pace. We know today that hasn't happened. We have significant investment in Chennai, Pune, and Sandan. And we've got quite a bit of open capacity in some of those plants. Some plants are doing very well. It's only because the production volumes have not materialized because the sales in country have not materialized. So we think over time, India will grow. I think there's a projection for it to get to 7 million units out there 5-7 years down the road, which is almost double to what it is now. But we're making sure we make the right investment for the expected volumes.
And also in your presentation earlier in the day, you said 2 more plants to come up in India. Could you throw some light on what will they produce and where will they come up in?
Yeah, well, we're looking with our partner Ford Motor Company in Sandan. Right now, we import transmissions from our transmission manufacturing in Europe. We do some final assembly. We're looking at expected production volumes, and does it make sense to localize more manufacturing? If you look at the auto companies, the first thing they localize is body, because it's so big, in the interior. And then they import in engines, they import in transmissions. Then once they get to production volume that makes sense, they localize all that. So those are things we're working on right now.
So the next plant could be one for the transmissions.
Yes, could be.
Okay.
Yes.
And you said two plants coming up. So what?
Yeah, I'm trying to think what the second one is. I can't tell you, but I will get you that answer.
Right. And also with the new trends, one of the mega trends is shared mobility. How do you think this will impact the automotive industry, and especially players like Magna and others?
Well, I think at the end of the day, with shared mobility, the overall consumption of total automobiles, from what we see from the outside, this is third-party analysis, is not going to go down.
It's not going to go down.
It's not going to go down. Because if you take a consumer that buys a car, he puts X amount of miles on a vehicle on an annualized basis. If you take a vehicle that's shared, there's multiple people driving that same vehicle. There's many more miles that are going to go onto that vehicle within the same annual basis as a single consumer. So the overall analysis, this isn't ours, this is third party, says over the short term they don't see a reduction in total production. As you can see, total production is still going up year over year in the globe.
But also there is also a view that increasingly more people would stay away from purchasing cars for their owning cars. So by that logic, don't you think that there could be a kind of a drop in overall volumes? Maybe if not now, maybe 5 years down the line.
Could be, but I read an article the other day in North America here that said the millennials who were using shared driving are now married and they have a job and they've paid off their student loans, so they want to buy their own car. Right. So I think it all comes down to the driving habits. I think one of the key things that will drive shared mobility is density of cities. And you come from India, so you know what it's like in Mumbai, you know what it's like in even Pune, and then China, Beijing, Shanghai, you name it. The congestion is just too high and the pollution is too high. So there's going to be some solution that's going to come out in time to relieve some of that.
And also, Magna has also been in contract manufacturing for long. Right. G-Wagon being a classic example. Yep. Are you looking at such business opportunities in emerging markets like India, for example? Maybe,
Not right now. I mentioned earlier today, we got our 2 assembly plants in Graz, Austria that are full through 2023. If the customer came to us today to build a vehicle, we wouldn't have capacity. Now, having said that, we continue to watch areas of the world that may need contract manufacturing. We don't think India would, only because there's open capacity right now based on the capacity that's been installed. And there's also installed capacity in China, far more than they currently need. So it's like the chicken and the egg. Do you build a plant and the work will come? We're working with our customers to see if it makes sense, but we have no definite plans at this point.
All right. And lastly, in terms of, say, your investments, and also the exposure to OEMs. I mean, even now, if you look at, you're heavily rely on maybe a cluster of 6-7 OEMs, from BMW, Daimler to the big 3. What are your plans to expanding your customer base?
We continue to expand our customer base. In fact, based on landed contracts in the last 2 years, we became Tata, Jaguar Land Rover's biggest supplier based on revenue. The German 3, the Volkswagen Group, Mercedes, BMW, very big suppliers. The Renault-Nissan Alliance, we've grown significantly with them over the last few years, and we'll see as Mitsubishi comes into that alliance, we think that could provide opportunity for us. Honda is another big player that we've expanded with, and then we're selectively working with some of the Chinese car companies. Some of them are quite good. There's some that they're not getting to their manufacturing capacities, so we're very selective on where we invest capital.
And how much do you invest on R&D on an annual basis?
I don't have the number handy, but it's quite a bit of money. The amount of money we spend, we don't limit how much we spend. We spend the money that makes sense. And I'm sure Tracy can provide you the number. It's a big number.
Lastly, this year, what kind of growth do you expect in revenue? And in terms of the contribution from Asia, how much is it now and where do you see it growing?
Well, I can't tell you we can get to the exact numbers, but last year, based on divesting out of interiors and not closing on Getrag till January, we're about 32 billion in sales total last year. This year, coming out of the second quarter, we said we'll be between 35 and 37 billion. Our outlook in January, January 2016, said that within 3 years, we'll be north of 40 billion. The distribution by region, we can get to you. But we are growing quite a bit in the Asian market.
Okay, and North America currently, how much does it contribute to overall? Still?
I can't tell you over the top of my head, but most of our growth with the Detroit 3 hasn't been here.
Okay.
It's been in Asia and in other parts of the world.
Thank you, Jim.
Okay.
Jim Tobin, thank you so much for talking to Autocar Professional.
Okay.
And thank you very much for watching. Do follow us on our social media and do subscribe to our YouTube channel and get the latest updates from the automotive industry. Thank you.